Ooh, right off the bat, these orange lockers are going to be a problem. There's no secret that Saved by the Bell's airing order is nonsensical, to put it mildly. The most recent example is that we saw a legit 10th grade episode with 1-900 crushed, only for it to be followed by a 9th grade episode in Close Encounters of the Nerd Kind, which was followed by Running Zack, another 10th grade episode, but which was followed by a 9th grade episode in The Babysitters. The current episode? It was produced as the first episode in the 11th grade year, which is why the cast looks a little older and the red lockers are switched out for orange. In fact, of these final 4 episodes in the 10th grade season, only From Nurse to Worse was originally produced as a 10th grade episode. The Fabulous Belding Boys, Breaking Up is Hard to Undo, and The Glee Club were all produced for the next season when the gang is in 11th grade. And none of this explains why a random 9th grade episode also featured orange lockers. It just did. Welcome to Mr. Dickerson's history class.
Tomorrow is our history midterm. No one has passed it in 3 years.
Where have we seen the high-stakes history midterm storyline before?
First of which was the proclamation of 1763 forbidding settlement on all lands west of...
As you'll no doubt recall, Mr. Testaverde was a bad teacher because he was apathetic about whether his students actually learned anything.
Any questions? Good luck. See you Thursday.
Where Mr. Testaverde's review was simply a figurative butt-ton of an information dump, Mr. Dickerson's review appears to inhibit success in a very different way.
Laugh now, loser. None of this is on the test.
This guy is both awesome and Satan. Mr. Belding calls in the class trip representatives.
Stop interrupting my class!
The class representatives can't seem to agree on a trip destination. Not Alan Fairbanks wants to visit the Hershey factory. Jessie wants to tour a nuclear power plant. Mr. Belding simply takes the reins and says that he'll decide on the destination.
In the meantime, hit those books, because if you don't pass your midterms, there'll be no class trip for any of you.
Hold on. Every time I've watched this episode, I've just assumed that the class trip was like for the whole 10th grade class and these kids were the committee. But it's not. And you may be thinking that my point is that it's an 11th grade class trip because of the odd airing order, and an 11th grade class trip makes more sense than a 10th grade class trip. But it's not that either. Mr. Belding pages only the one history class. Mr. Belding refers to the trip as an annual class trip. The history midterm must be passed for the trip to happen. Only the one history class shows up for the trip. For whatever reason, this one history class gets an annual class trip. And if you aren't in the class, no class trip. Sorry, Zeffirelli twins. What a weird angle to have taken this. And does that nerd have a ponytail? Since Zach wants that really history-specific class trip, he's leading the study group. Jeez, why frame Kelly like that?
Ask me about my win.
With the group getting some study fatigue, they all hallucinate Mr. Dickerson being awesome.
You think you're smart? You think you're hip? Put your books away, cause there's no class trip.
As luck would have it, Mr. Belding puts Mr. Dickerson on leave.
I knew he needed a rest when he sent me to detention.
The test will instead be administered by a substitute teacher, Mr. Belding's brother. Now, what happened the last time we had a blonde substitute teacher? Oh yeah, the girls fell in love with him. This time, everyone falls in love with Rod Belding. Come on! He's got that chill vibe and saw at least the first half of Dead Poets Society. Then again, so is Screech and Kelly, as both go to rip up their tests well before Rod instructs them to do so. Just further proof that they belong together. So, sure, Rod Belding is cool and lets each student choose their own midterm grade. But I gotta admit, Rod's presence means our Mr. Belding takes some serious L's.
Wow, a building with 2 Beldings, one of whom is balding.
Ouch. And it doesn't end there.
It's hard to believe you're even brothers.
What he's trying to say, sir, is that you're both so
So different. Yeah, he's got so much more hair than you do, sir.
I'm making a point to call these two comments out now because something even meaner, though almost hidden, comes up later. In the meantime, Mr. Belding announces that the class will be camping at Yosemite National Park, but then Rob completely undermines his brother.
You guys are really brave.
What do you mean?
Well, you're letting my brother lead you into the woods. When he was 12, we camped out on the front lawn and you got lost.
Jerk move, but great characterization. Oh, but look how cool Rod is. He's letting Zach and Screech, legit best friends, watch the Dodgers game in Mr. Belding's office. And then Zach gets all randy for some fireside snuggles in Yosemite with Kelly.
I don't need a girl to keep warm. Mom's packing 3 pairs of long johns. With a lock on the trap door to keep the bears out.
But then Rod starts talking about whitewater rafting.
Man, I'd give anything to go whitewater rafting.
I don't blame you, Zach. You gotta grab life.
Oh, Rod, I mean, Belding would never take us rafting.
Well, that Belding wouldn't, but this Belding would.
Can we get some more tape on that soda can? Or we can still tell it's Diet Coke. Okay, yeah. The gang decides running the river is more exciting, and they have to convince Mr. Belding to change the trip. I'm more interested in the background work here. This far table gets their food, but oh no, the mustard is out. Let's ask the next table for theirs. But we won't give it back. We want both bottles of mustard, because Herbert Hodus sucks. This is a legit something the background actors are doing. Look at all this nature. Hey guys, I've got so much nature for our trip. But they don't want nature. They want a trip with Rod. Mr. Belding isn't sure he should listen to them. These kids are notoriously bad at making decisions. Case in point, the F is Jessie wearing? It's like her Adam Trask photo shoot, but somehow so much worse. Mr. Belding relents and then mourns all his nature. Then again, he may be sad for a different reason altogether. Remember the Belding jokes?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Mr. Belding.
Screech just called him Mr. Belding.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Mr. Belding.
That, plus a preference for your brother's trip, would get anyone all mopey. And this just might be another Mr. Belding trigger. Instead of history class, Rod is conducting a whitewater prep course. And this is how you know Rod is just being a bro. Instead of spending time discussing the ins and outs of CPR, here's his approach.
All right, now take a breath. Go for it.
Go! Go! Go!
Hey! What is going on here?
Dang it, Mr. Belding! While everyone heads back to class, Zach sticks up for Rod's influence in the lives of the students.
No other teacher ever cared so much about us.
Well, maybe he should care more about teaching and less about being popular.
Maybe you're jealous of your own brother.
More sad music for Belding! Alright! It's time for the history class trip! Zach and Kelly are ready. Lisa's overpacking is on point for her character. Slater is showing off more cleavage than his girlfriend. And then there's Screech.
I'm not gonna drown this time.
And then there's Milton.
Everybody, the buses are here!
He is just too pure. Rod hasn't shown up yet, so Zach volunteers to look for him. But not before goosing Screech's floaty. And what does Zach find? 2 Beldings in one building, one of whom is bailing. You see, there isn't a Dodgers game on, so the brothers are forced into some real talk. And that real talk leads to Rod flaking on the trip to shack up with a flight attendant named Inga. Mr. Belding breaks the news that their tour guide has the flu, and everyone is bummed. But then Mr. Belding offers to lead the expedition himself.
You mean you want to take us?
Yeah. You don't mind a leader who can't swim too well.
Well, that just about sounds like the worst idea. Further, Mr. Belding hasn't packed for this trip. Is he going in his suit? And I wish every bad idea I had got me lady smooches. Zach apologizes for being a jerk, and Mr. Belding apologizes for Rod's too cool for school lifestyle.
Rod always was the more exciting Belding.
Maybe. But we got the better Belding.
He gets some happy music! Mr. Dickerson, probably an appropriate name for the man, was played gloriously by Raph Maro, who put his unique voice to characters in Family Matters, Charles in Charge, Seinfeld, and plenty other TV shows and movies. He also had a fun recurring role in Night Court as a homeless man. Due to involvement with youth theater, Raph penned 3 books of monologues for young actors. Raph Maro is not to be confused with Kevin Pollak. Rod Belding, the paragon of manspreading, was played by Ed Blatchford. He must have had a good relationship with Peter Engel Productions, as he'd also appear in Hang Time, City Guys, and all 52 episodes of Malibu CA. He was also in a few movies, including your aunt's favorite. He played Jack Winthrop in The Last of the Mohicans. Being an all-around nice guy, Ed would later reprise his role as Rod Belding, but that is a story for another day.
Wow. A building with 2 Beldings, one of whom is balding.